How much time per day do you spend using your phone or computer? These tools have become essential to our everyday lives, but neither would exist without one tech company you've never heard of. No, I'm not talking about Apple, not Google or Microsoft or any name you'd recognize. I'm talking about a company in the Netherlands, a company worth over $300 billion. A company so critical to modern civilization that governments literally write laws to protect it. Their name is ASML, and without them, you're not watching this video, because the phone in your hand, the laptop on your desk, your car, your TV, every piece of modern technology, none of it works without what they make. This is the story of the most important company nobody talks about.
Part 1. What they actually make. So what does ASML do? They make machines. Specifically, they make the machines that make the chips that go in everything. But calling what ASML builds a machine is like calling the sun a light bulb. Technically accurate, completely underselling it. Here's the problem ASML solves. Your phone has a chip inside it. That chip has billions of transistors, tiny switches that process information. The newest iPhone chip has about 19 billion of them on a piece of silicon the size of your fingernail. So how do you actually make something that small? You can't use normal tools, you can't use lasers, you can't use anything that exists in the normal world because the features on these chips are smaller than the wavelength of visible light. Think about that. The things on your phone's chip are literally smaller than light itself. So ASML had to build something that doesn't use normal light. They use something called extreme ultraviolet light, EUV, light with a wavelength of just 13.5 nanometers. For reference, a human hair is about 80,000 nanometers wide. And creating this light, it's absolutely insane. Here's how it works. ASML's machine fires a laser at tiny droplets of molten tin. We're talking 50,000 droplets per second. The laser hits each droplet twice, first to flatten it, then to vaporize it into plasma. That plasma releases EUV light. Then, because EUV light gets absorbed by literally everything, including air, the entire system operates in a near-perfect vacuum. The light bounces off a series of mirrors that are the flattest objects ever made by humans. If you scaled one of these mirrors up to the size of Germany, the biggest bump would be 1 millimeter high. All of this happens while the silicon wafer moves underneath at highway speeds, stopping and starting with nanometer precision. One machine, the size of a bus, costs $380 million, takes 40 trucks and 3 Boeing 747s to deliver, contains 100,000 parts from 5,000 suppliers, and ASML is the only company on Earth that makes them. Part 2. How did one company end up with everything? This is where it gets interesting. ASML didn't set out to create a monopoly. They were actually the underdog. In the 1980s, there were several companies making lithography machines, the devices that print patterns onto chips. The big players were Nikon and Canon from Japan. ASML was a tiny Dutch spin-off, barely surviving. But while Nikon and Canon played it safe, ASML made a bet that seemed insane at the time. They decided to pursue EUV technology. This was the 1990s. Everyone agreed EUV was the future, in theory, but actually building a working EUV machine? Most engineers thought it was borderline impossible. The technical challenges were so extreme that the US government started a consortium called the EUV LLC, pooling resources from Intel, AMD, and Motorola just to research whether it could be done. ASML didn't just join that research, they became the company that actually tried to build it. For over 20 years of research, billions of dollars, countless failures. There were points where everyone, including people inside ASML, thought EUV would never work. But here's the thing about making impossible machines. Once you figure it out, no one else can catch up. While ASML was spending 2 decades perfecting EUV, their competitors gave up.
Nikon tried to develop their own EUV program. They quit in 2017. Canon never seriously attempted it. Intel tried to develop alternatives, failed. Samsung tried to reduce their dependence on ASML, couldn't. Today, ASML has 100% monopoly on EUV lithography machines. Not 90%, not 95%, 100%. If you want to make cutting-edge chips, the kind in your phone, in AI servers, in anything modern, you need EUV. And if you need EUV, you need ASML. There is no alternative. There is no second source. There is no backup plan. And it's not like a competitor can just decide to catch up. The knowledge required to build these machines is so specialized, so distributed across thousands of suppliers that recreating it would take decades and tens of billions of dollars with no guarantee of success. ASML didn't capture the market. They created a capability that no one else on Earth possesses.
Part 3. Who gets access? Now here's where things get political. If one company controls the technology that makes all advanced chips, then whoever controls that company controls the future of technology. Governments figured this out pretty quickly. See, ASML is a Dutch company, but their biggest customers are in Taiwan, TSMC, South Korea, Samsung, and the United States, Intel. These are the allies, the good guys from a Western perspective. But there's another country that desperately wants access to EUV machines. A country that's racing to build its own semiconductor industry. A country that would pay absolutely anything to get their hands on this technology. China. And this is where things get intense. China has been trying to build a domestic chip industry for decades. They've poured hundreds of billions of dollars into it, but they've hit a wall. That wall is called ASML. Without EUV machines, Chinese chipmakers are stuck making older, less advanced chips. They're literally generations behind. And for things like AI, for advanced weapons, for competing in the next technological era, older chips aren't good enough. So China tried to buy EUV machines from ASML. Seemed simple enough. They're a customer, ASML sells machines, transaction. But then the Dutch government stepped in. Under pressure from the United States, the Netherlands refused to grant export licenses for EUV machines to China. Not some machines, any machines. Complete ban. Think about that. A company in the Netherlands is being told by its own government, under pressure from America, that they cannot sell their most advanced product to the world's second largest economy, because the technology is too strategic to let China have. This isn't about money. ASML would make billions selling to China. This is about power, about who gets to have advanced technology and who doesn't. And China hasn't taken this lying down. There have been allegations of espionage. Former ASML employees in South Korea were accused of stealing trade secrets for Chinese companies. There have been investigations into Chinese firms trying to recruit ASML engineers. The Dutch intelligence service has reportedly warned about Chinese operations targeting ASML specifically. Some analysts believe China is attempting to develop their own EUV capability. They've thrown money at the problem, recruited engineers, bought companies, but so far, no working EUV machine. The technology is that hard. One Dutch company has become a choke point in the global tech war between America and China. And neither side can do anything about it, because no one else knows how to make what ASML makes. Part 4. The single point of failure. Let's play a thought experiment. What happens if ASML disappears? I don't mean bankruptcy. I mean, imagine their main factory in Veldhoven, Netherlands catches fire tomorrow. Their engineers are gone. Their machines are destroyed. Their knowledge is lost. What happens to the world? In the short term, not much. There are existing chips already manufactured. There's inventory. TSMC and Samsung can keep producing on the machines they already have. But within a year, things start breaking. No more new phones, not the advanced ones anyway. Apple can't make the next iPhone. Samsung can't make their flagship Galaxy. Every tech company's roadmap destroyed. No more advanced AI. Those chips training ChatGPT and running data centers, they need EUV. AI development doesn't just slow down, it stops. Cars become a problem. Modern vehicles are rolling computers. They need chips, lots of them. The 2021 chip shortage gave us a preview. Factories idled, dealers had empty lots, prices skyrocketed. Now imagine that, but permanent. Military equipment, medical devices, telecommunications infrastructure, satellites. Everything that runs on advanced chips starts to degrade, and there's no way to replace it. This isn't science fiction. This is the actual situation we're in. The entire technological infrastructure of modern civilization runs through one company in one small Dutch town with a few thousand engineers who are the only people on Earth who know how to do what they do. ASML knows this. They have some of the most intense security of any company in the world. They're paranoid about espionage. They're careful about who they hire. They have backup facilities and disaster recovery plans. But the fundamental vulnerability remains. There's no plan B. If something happens to ASML, decades of technological progress could effectively stop.
Part 5. Why don't we talk about this? Here's what puzzles me. We talk about big tech all the time. Everyone has opinions about Apple, Google, Amazon, Meta. Congress holds hearings, documentaries get made, people write think pieces. But ASML? Barely a blip. A company more essential to modern life than any FAANG stock. A company that represents the most extreme technological achievement humans have ever produced. A literal monopoly on the machinery of the future. And most people have never heard of them. Part of it is that ASML is B2B. They don't sell to consumers. They sell to other companies who sell to consumers. They're invisible in the supply chain. Part of it is that semiconductor manufacturing is genuinely complicated. It's hard to explain, it's hard to visualize. It doesn't make for sexy headlines. But I think there's something else going on too. ASML's prominence is uncomfortable. It reveals how fragile our technological civilization actually is, how dependent we are on things we don't understand, made by people we've never heard of, in places we couldn't find on a map. We like to think technology is inevitable, that progress marches forward automatically, that if one company didn't make something, another would. ASML proves that's not true. Sometimes there's only one group of humans on Earth who can solve a particular problem, and if something happens to them, no one else picks up the slack.
That's the story of ASML, the company that makes the machines that make everything. If you found this interesting, you'll want to subscribe and stick around, because ASML isn't the only hidden monopoly running your life. There's a company that controls what you see, a company that controls what you pay, companies that have quietly cornered markets most people don't know exist. I'll be exposing all of them. Welcome to Monopoly Files.